More than 2 weeks after 11-year-old Adriana Younge was found dead at the Doubleday Hotel in Tucson, the government, through the Ministry of Home Affairs, has announced the involvement of Canadian homicide expert Leonard Mc Coshen to assist the local police with the investigation. The move follows growing pressure from Adriana's family, who have repeatedly called for an international probe, citing concerns about the integrity of the investigation. 3 international pathologists, one chosen by the family, have already conducted the post-mortem examination. Their conclusion: Adriana died by drowning. But her family remains adamant that this was no accident. They believe she was murdered. Tonight on Sources, we speak with the family's lead attorney, Dr. Dexter Todd, about their legal fight, their demand for justice, and whether they believe this latest development marks progress or more delays. Welcome to Sources. I'm your host, Svetlana Marshall. Tonight, we'll be taking a closer look at the Adriana Younge case. And to do so with me, I have Dr. Dexter Todd, attorney at law. Mr. Todd, thank you so much for accommodating me.
You're most welcome.
Mr. Todd, you are now the lead attorney in the Adriana Younge case. What sparked your interest in the case?
Now, I was retained by the family of Adriana Younge. I believe because the exposure that I have had over the years, coming from a police background, and then as an attorney, and then of course being certified, having completed a number of forensic training. So it started in an interest with having questions in relation to explaining certain things to them, various things that they didn't understand in the process. And then I was approached by them again whether I would take the case in full as a lead counsel. And I agreed.
And so the legal team comprises how many lawyers, if you could tell me that?
And so we have lawyers who are local here. Myself, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Wade, Mr. Smart, Ms. Adams, Ms. Exeter. And then we have a number of lawyers who are supporting from, well, let's say the international lawyers who are supporting, who form part of the larger group of consultants, legal consultants in this matter.
Quite a large team. What are some of the facts that were presented to you as you took over the case?
Well, most of what is already in the press in terms of what happened, that this young girl on the particular date in question went to this hotel, was a part of a supervised swimming group. And then sometime very early that afternoon, I think it was around about 2 o'clock, thereabout, she disappeared. Facts going to say that just after her disappearance, there were calls, searches that were done. There are numerous persons who searched the pool, moved through the waters from all angles, and of course walked in the pool as much as they can, just to ensure that they were actually touching on nothing. And we even have clearly the swimming instructor who did a number of checks within the pool. Moving to that, there were, at least moving to the evening, there were a number of searches which were done. And this was, of course, taken out by way of video of that search. You have the guy and the critic who searched. And of course, we had drones being used to search everything humanly possible, I think, to see that there was nothing in that water. sometime later in the next day or and so on, you had the search continuing, and thereafter we moved immediately into the discovery of this body in the water. Now, there were a number of concerns that they had, and they wanted some answers from a professional legal standpoint, and that is what I came on board to offer.
Okay. Do you think this is a case of homicide, that she was murdered?
Well, as an investigator, our training has always taught us we ought to never make a conclusion without having all the facts and the evidence available. From what I am seeing, it warrants a very thorough homicide investigation.
Now, last week you met with the Commissioner of Police and you were joined by the family along with other attorneys. Tell me a bit about the discussions you had with Mr. Hicking.
Now, as I said in the interviews with the press, this meeting was a necessary one. The police force by law is charged with the responsibility of criminal investigations in this country. The families had a number of questions, and those questions, the best people to answer those questions would have been, of course, the head of the Guyana Police Force, the Commissioner of Police, and the head of criminal investigation, which is the crime chief. This meeting was arranged. I made an official or a formal request for the meeting, and then that was accepted by the Commissioner of Police, who assured me by way of telephone that the crime chief will be a part of that meeting. I then relayed this information to the family members. The parents, that all questions you have, let's stop reading things in social media and forming an opinion on it. Let's hear what the investigators are doing. They agreed for that meeting. Now, that meeting could have lasted maybe for 3 minutes, because I think very early in the meeting, with the absence of the crime chief, the commissioner made it clear that he was basically operating from a policy level, and therefore he would not have been informed enough or briefed enough or in a position, any way you want to look at it, to deal with specific questions and answers.
What were those specific questions you wanted?
Okay, the specific question was one: what type of investigations are you doing? That couldn't be answered. From the autopsy which was done, are you in possession of a preliminary report? He was not in possession. At least that was the answer. Now we're seeing that the police, they are in possession of a preliminary report. And so we will now make another request for that. At the time, let's give the Commissioner of Police the benefit of the doubt. At the time, maybe he was not in possession, he is now in possession of it. So we have gone past that. So let's move, we're moving from the stage that he's now in possession of that. The purpose for asking for that is because it is within the family's right to have a second opinion, not from the lawyer. I see this misinformation being peddled, not from the lawyer. I am not a forensic pathologist. They have available to them a number of forensic pathologists who are willing to review the entire exercise and then give them an opinion on it. All right? So as lead counsel, My responsibility is to facilitate, not to make a pronouncement, not to review it myself, is to facilitate that. All right? And so now that the police are saying that they have that preliminary report, we are going to be asking them for that because it's needed.
Now, let's talk a bit about that report. It was released even once the postmortem examination was conducted. The very day we were told, the press was told that the cause of death was drowning. Now, in the preliminary report released by the police, it emphasized that the cause of death was drowning, that there were no signs of her being sexually assaulted, physically abused in any way, injuries of sort, nothing of such was detected. In a sense, and in fact, the president, in addressing this issue the very night the postmortem examination, after that was concluded, he said that the pathologist ruled out murder. You're saying that this is a possible case of, a homicide investigation. What do you say with respect to the preliminary report? I know you said you haven't seen it, but based on what the police has thus far reported.
You see, even where you're dealing with drowning, all right, you can still be dealing with where you find there is intentional drowning. It is still a homicide investigation. The pathologists, in their own right, give a preliminary findings based on cause of death, and that is from a medical standpoint. They cannot in law make a pronouncement on the manner of death. It is for the police to pursue an investigation because manner of death requires legal classifications. All right? So just saying drowning, that's only one element. Now, I have said as well that there is what we know for us as any trained forensic person will know that there is ethics in forensic science, which means that if the science is applied correctly, if there are 3 or 4 experts who go to review that exercise, they are likely to come up with the same conclusion. All right? So I am not challenging the pronouncement of the pathologists. What I am saying, it is within the family's rights to have a second, third, fourth, fifth opinions on this matter. Now I'll tell you why they need that. Now you would recognize that the police, in terms of their communications, in terms of how they related to the family, was very poor. Most of what they learned was through what was already in the social media space. Persons are saying, video surfacing with a nurse allegedly saying certain things. Now, it is not their position to say whether this is a authentic, accurate statement or not. The police will investigate that. But you can't help to notice that it will bring some form of concern to them. Now, that is not the only thing here. Because of the fact, and I'll tell you, I was contacted only yesterday. After this meeting with the police, I was contacted only yesterday in relation to those persons that they need to give statements to the police. Which tells me you had a number of days in this investigation, and what was really being done?
More than 2 weeks would have
Yes.
elapsed.
And so it caused me now last night to go over and trying to find out who were the persons who were at the pool, who were the persons who searched the pool. All of them did not give statements to the police. Where can they be located? They all need to go to the police. You know, so now I am now as the lawyer moving into a stage where I have to now tell the persons, you are required to go give the police a statement. Now, clearly, the police ought to have done the investigations, at least be aware of the identifications of these persons who have been around this pool, etc., and be pursuing them. I mean, so I now sense that there is some form of drive because of the fact that we have been very focused on calling for a very thorough and proper investigation.
Okay, let's hold on that a bit. Just to go back to the autopsy, you spoke about the preliminary report, the need to have the full report, and the need to have that reviewed. Is the family still considering having a second autopsy?
They have not ruled that out. They have not ruled that out, and I can say to you, they are closely moving to confirm that that is what they want, because you heard of, and this again is in the social space after certain pronouncement by the authorities that the body was in that state of decomposition and so on. But when they looked at it, that is not the case. So there's some things in terms of the marks on the bodies that they have looked at from a natural eye, but they're not convinced that really and truly, without looking at the report, that they got the right information. And you see, this is why, again, it was important for there to be a disclosure, at least of that preliminary results, so that if they wanted to have another doctor's opinion on it, then they were free to do so. And so the questions are still there, and they have not been answered.
Okay. Now let's go back to the meeting that we were talking about, the meeting with the Commissioner of Police. Subsequent to that meeting, we saw the police releasing, the preliminary report, and we've spoken about that. And secondly, we saw the government through the Ministry of Home Affairs announcing that they will be bringing in a Canadian homicide expert, Mr. Leonard Mc Coshen. What is the family thoughts on that? I know they've been pushing for an international probe into the death of little Adriana. Are they satisfied?
They're not satisfied. They're not in support of that gesture at all. To have a retired person, fair enough, comes with some form of experience. Their main concern here is that this individual is not going to be accountable to any particular body. What they were looking forward for is to have an organization or an institution in which it's active, in which the members can be accountable. All right? So in this stage where you take a private investigator, then the private investigator has to be accountable only to whomever is his paymaster. Now clearly, I am not going to pronounce on the ethics of this individual and to say that he may not perform ethically. That is not what I'm saying at all. All I'm saying is that because of how this entire case is being handled, there are concerns. And with those concerns, the satisfaction is not there with the family in relation to this single person who is coming, who has been retired, who was retired, and is not connected to any particular body or organization. in which we can look at their own code of conduct, their terms, etc., and to be able to say, well, okay, we're going to hold this institution to those standards.
Who were they looking to have?
They were basically looking to have, as I said, as they have been saying quite some time, the FBI, active police, crime scene investigators. They were looking at having Scotland Yard, members of the Scotland Yard police investigators. They were looking for that type of support to the police force, because these persons have a very wider reach in relation to experts and resource persons to be able to connect to the police force. They are not so sure that this one person, unless the approach is that this one individual will come in, assess, and then make recommendations that these are the experts that you need to get on board to be able to give a thorough investigation.
Now, you've spoken about that, a thorough investigation.
Uh-huh.
What would a thorough investigation look like? And I want you to answer that, taking into consideration that the crime scene, the hotel, was destroyed by fire, the pool was emptied. Do you know if the police were able to take samples from the pool before the building or the facility was destroyed? But generally, what a thorough investigation involves for those who were viewing?
You know, it's interesting that you asked that question, because that was the exact question that was posed to the Commissioner of Police, and we've had no answer on that. The response was the police force is conducting a comprehensive investigation. And this comprehensive investigation, the second question or the follow-up question to that is, what really does it entail? And we couldn't have an answer to that. These are questions we have as well. We don't know what really they're doing. We don't know how the with all that has happened in terms of the contaminating of the crime scene, whether they are bringing in the necessary persons to be able to retrieve anything there, we don't know. And I think this compounds the anxiety, this compounds the problem that the families they are experiencing, because of the fact that there is very little or no communications. Now, I read from the police's press release that because of the fact that I am a former policeman, I will understand the need to not put everything in the public in relation to what the police is doing. I will support that. But in relation to certain basic questions, in relation to what really you're investigating, and were you able to take samples from the crime scene to be analyzed? At least you can't say, yes, we were able to take samples, because that wouldn't tie you into to a position, let's say if the samples return and you were not able to have a conclusive results. I mean, that doesn't tie you. At least the family are so assured that you are doing everything you can to ensure that the investigation is a thorough one. Now, you've asked the question, what would a thorough investigation entail? A thorough investigation will entail your response from the beginning. Do you have, first of all, do you have surveillance? Do you have a list of all those persons? Did you take the names of all the persons that were on the ground? Did you, of course, cordon off, prevented persons from getting on the alleged crime? More so, did you treat the location as a crime scene? Did you really treat the location of the crime scene? And if you treated that location as a crime scene, what is it that you did? And what are some of the limitations to that now. You see, a lot of what has been going on in this case, there's information out there in social media, videos, persons making certain statements in relation to what they observe and so on. And if you take all of that into consideration, the posture and the position of the Guyana Police Force was totally unacceptable in this matter. And I believe because of that, this case requires the use of high forensic science to be able. There is the science and the technology out there that even where there is a fire, you can still be able to retrieve certain things. Are you making good use? Guyana doesn't have it. It's clear. And I believe that joins the position as to why there must be international help in this matter, because there are limitations here.
Do you think it would also be helpful to know exactly where the fire started the day the body was discovered?
Well, I would think that based on the that will have to come from a fire investigation from the Guyana Fire Service.
But would it help?
But I believe it will help, because the report from the fire investigation must also form part of the police's investigation, because it can't be isolated, because we have to now know whether there was an intentional burning of the place, and you have to be able to investigate that theory. Was it because of the fact that they wanted to hide certain things? Was it in fact that persons wanted to destroy things that would have been of evidential value, etc.? So it's if you come down to the conclusion of arson, I'm not saying it was arson. If you come down to that, then of course that will assist the police in their investigation in a total way of looking at this matter.
Now, the police also made public in one of its releases that DNA was sent for testing, and it will be done in the U.S. Could you say the samples were taken from whom? Was it just the victim? Were you briefed on that? And could you update us on the toxicology report? Have you been briefed on that as well?
Those tests, while we did not ask for the DNA test, that was not a specific question asked to the Commissioner of Police. And the reason we never asked specifically for the DNA is because the Commissioner made it clear that we will have to write to him to find out the various tests which were conducted, and of course, as soon as he has answers to that, he's going to reply to that. So I believe that was a general posture which allowed us to say, okay, don't go into specifics. The toxicologist report, I believe, is being pursued right now. And I believe that would have been a clear recommendation from the pathologist, because that is a necessary part of this investigation of the autopsy process.
What that report would tell us, help us understand.
Well, that report is going to clearly help you understand whether there could have been a match, because I would think that the toxicologist report will go more down the line of comparisons. All right, and I believe that is why there were samples. They're saying that samples, this is the police's statement, is saying that the samples of the water were, of course, sent. That's their report. We are in no position to refute that. If they're saying that is what happened, then we will have to trust what they're saying up to that point in relation to it. But that will be able to tell you really what was found in the body of the deceased.
Would you be able to say how long such an investigation would take, given its magnitude?
Well, I can tell you. I am so informed by most of the experts that a very thorough toxicology test will take no less than 90 days. that is what. If they are able to find the labs to be able to expedite that and so on, then that's all good, because that even brings this investigation and the findings closer. But most persons are saying it will take about 90 days. Yes.
Now, the police also, in the police force in its report, said that the hotel owner, who was during the initial stages taken into custody, has been released, but is required to report to the police on a daily basis. As an attorney, are you satisfied with that mechanism in place? And now that they're conducting interviews, are you satisfied that they're moving in that regard?
Well, that's the law. You can't keep someone in custody past their 72 hours if you're not instituting charges. So I don't think that any special arrangement in violating a person's rights, it will be permitted. I mean, I have always said that you have to balance this. You have the fairness of the investigation to be conducted, as well as the law also protects those in custody. So it's quite all right. The family, they have no difficulty, based on all communications with them, with the person being placed on a way of just reporting to the police, because this is normal. This is normal. What the family, of course, they're concerned with is that the police will support, and the government will support, the call for an international body to do this investigation, which is independent of, or to have this independent oversight. You see, and I'm just using back the language here. The language is that the retired homicide investigator from Canada is coming to assist the police. Now, the family, they are not backing down on the call that really and truly the police ought to stand aside in this investigation, and rightly so. Look how many things went wrong under the police's watch, and to have the family restore a confidence automatically that the police will conduct and will be impartial and they will have a thorough investigation. They're not convinced, and they have enough that has happened to bring them to that conclusion. So anyone to assist falls into a serious problem, especially a one person, because you still run the risk of the person even having limitations in relation to the investigation, because the police in their initial stages took a very wrong approach to the matter and misled
the public in that regard. Now, when all is said and done, what would justice look like for the family and little Adriana?
I believe justice will start with being able to unearth the truth of what had happened. It will also involve us understanding that this girl did not accidentally drown, meaning that she was swimming in the pool and then because that theory is not sitting well with the family, and because of the fact that this is not only an issue of investigative skills, this is also marrying common sense here, man. They were on the ground. They know what happened. And so how everything unfolded, we're not dealing with this girl just accidentally being drowned in this pool. And so justice demands that the truth be unearthed, that the persons culpable for this act be prosecuted, and that at the end of the day, that going further than that, that the system, procedures, protocols, etc., of dealing with matters of these nature and general investigations as a whole be changed. This matter must reaffirm to every right-thinking institution in this country, to every right-thinking leader in this country, that the lives of us as citizens in this country must be valued. And the type of pursuit that one ought to go after when something goes wrong with any one of us, it must be of urgency. What's this sense of persons not feeling? This matter is a serious one, you know. You are dealing with parents in this country and children in this country who are looking on to say, you know something, I want to have a sense of security, that I mustn't go at a place and be afraid that someone is going to take me and then I'm going to turn up dead and then no one knows exactly what happened to me. The police force support from the government, and I'm saying government, I am calling no political party, whichever government it is, there must be some form of cooperation and there must be a strong stance that we must go after these investigations with the best technology and science which are available out there. And it means that training and the technology and the science which are available, they must spare nothing to ensure that the police force in Guyana is well equipped to deal with these matters. It will also require that justice will also require that the entire posture of the police force, this level of misinformation, this level of what you call mediocre behavior, and let me use the word that was used yesterday. This type of mediocre behavior of the police force, this type of mediocre leaders that they have in the police force, these types of mediocre investigators we will take them out of the bracket of being mediocre, and we will give them the necessary training, we will equip them well, and we will allow them to properly serve this country, because they need to serve the citizens of this country, and service of our citizens in this country demands that they must be properly equipped.
Mr. Todd, the funeral of little Adriana Younge was postponed. It was set for last Monday, the 5th of May. That was postponed. Is the family now considering burial arrangements?
I don't think anyone could say it better than the mother and father. There will be no announcement of the burial of this girl until there is adequate and satisfactory answers in relation to her death. They have moved out of the stage of mourning, and they are joining hands with every single Guyanese who will join their hands in ensuring that the truth is unearthed. And so if it means that this body has to be embalmed, they are also exploring that, but they will not put her to rest in the earth until answers are given, until a satisfactory investigation is done. And that is their position. That is their position. Their position is not influenced by lawyers. Their position is not influenced by politicians. This is a mother and father who believe that the lies which have been told about their precious child, it will not go unnoticed, and they will not allow her to go on the earth and not fight. They want her to stay. Now, You could say, well, she died and the spirit went back and all. Listen, that is not my position as the lawyer. My position is, if their comfort is that they will keep her for as long as practicably possible until they get some answers, then I can't change that position. But is as it is of right now. And then you notice, what would have been, let's say we would have gotten the preliminary report, and they have a number. As I said, it's not misleading. They have access to as of today, they have access to over 50 forensic pathologists around the world who are calling, more than 20-something of those pathologists are calling for the preliminary report and videos and photographs so that they can review. So the strength they have is way beyond Dr. Todd. Way beyond Dr. Todd. Way beyond politicians. They don't want to hear anything about politics. They don't want this to be mixed up. They don't want this to be, they don't want distraction. What they want is to ensure that they protect the two children that they have, that the life of Adriana Younge will be the turning point for the protection of thousands of children in this country. And they're saying, now remind you, we are not dealing with a hotel in which this has been the first rodeo, you know. You are dealing with a situation in which the reports are there that this probably would have happened at another time or two times before. The same family members who are grieving are also a part of this case in joining hands with the parents and said, oh, we give up and we didn't get justice. So all of that, they are drawing more strength day by day. They're drawing more strength day by day. And they're saying, no, we will hold on strong because the death of this young girl must mean something. If it has to make the international community join hands with the ordinary citizens of this country to ensure that we hold the people in authority accountable, then so it will be. They will not put her down to rest until there are proper answers for their child. Because it will not go. These are these words. I'm just repeating it. This death will not go as another statistic and that is just covered under a blanket and it's another cold case. They say they want answers. They have the support of many persons who are telling them that answers can be given. Mind you, they are not passing any particular narrative and to say they're holding on to this, that this must be the conclusion. This is not what they're saying in all right. They're not saying that this must be the conclusion. What they're saying is that they must be satisfied that the investigation was so thorough and that the answers to many of the questions that they have been given. And they're saying her death. You see, listen to me. These are an instruction. Only last night we spoke. And I believe I'm at liberty to say that her death is not going to be a chaos and protest and burning and looting. No. The burial, these are their words. The burial of this girl is going to be a nation's celebration of her life because of what this death has caused. The changes in the institution and in the system. We are changing the narrative. It's not a situation in which the family are going to hold on and to be able to allow lies and distractions to be the narrative that they must accept. They will make her life mean something, and I will support them on that. I will support them on that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Todd, for joining me on today's program. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Sources. I've been your host, Svetlana Marshall.